Itoki was a loser with zero social life thanks to his super strict mom. Even though he spent all his time close to a girl called Setsu, she was merely a family friend slash babysitter that his mom assigned to him. One day his luck changed when a cute classmate, Satomi, confessed that she was into shut-in losers and wanted to go out with him. Itoki rushed home to tell his mom their lineage wouldn't die with him after all, but his mom disapproved. Turns out his mom was right, and on their date, Satomi pulls a knife on him. Suddenly, the room is filled with smoke and Kotetsu appears and tosses him out of the window, where two other locals are waiting to drive him to safety. However, their car is attacked too, and they tell Itoki to run ahead. It gets dark and Itoki gets ambushed once again, but this time his uncle, Tokisada, shows up and prepares to deal with them while Itoki slowly passes out. When he comes to, Kosetsu takes him to his real family house where his mother, chief of Iga village, reveals that they're actually shinobis. A rival clan, the Koga village, is attempting to take over Iga village, which is why they're after his life, since he's the 19th Iga village successor. Itoki is overwhelmed by the news, so Tokisada takes him outside and gives him the option to run away, leaving his mother behind to bear the title. Itoki decides he's not that spineless and agrees to stay behind for her. Later, Raiha informs Itoki of a school for shinobis that he'll be transferring to if he passes the exam. She also informs him about the NSC, who are tasked with keeping the peace between villages. The next day, Tokisada is informed that the shinobi exam will be taking place in Koga village, so he and Kotetsu plan to keep an eye out when he's there. His exam begins and he discovers his opponent is Satomi, who clearly intends to finish what she started. Kotetsu and Tokisada discreetly take care of the undercover ninjas, trying to sabotage his test, while Itoki is able to finish Satomi out using his tools. Minutes later, Satomi is arrested, while Hayato, chairman of the NSC, informs Kito that his men were caught breaking the rules. Kito denies any association with them, while Satomi is found dead in her cell. On his first day of school, Itoki bumps into some Koga elites who are ready to bite off his head, when another student named Kire rescues him and warns him to steer clear of them. Later, they head to the cafeteria where Suzaku confronts Itoki, saying someone from the Iga village assassinated the last Koga chief, and he intends to make their whole village pay. Later, the students attend an exercise on using the ninja suits and cores. The teacher tells them they'll have to run to the roof of the tower and retrieve a manju from the principal before the glutton finishes it all. Everyone sets out except Itoki, who has no idea how to use the suit. Ryoku helps him out, explaining she's from the Saiga village, who is in charge of making ninja tools. They continue the mission, and though Suzaku cheats, he and Kotetsu are the first to reach the tower and continue. On the way, Itoki notices Kire has been robbed of her ninja core and tries to avenge her, but the Koga bullies beat him up till the principal appears and breaks it up. When Itoki returns to Kire, he hands her the manju he stole from Himura so she can finish the mission, but when he finally gets up to the tower, the principal eats the last manju. Meanwhile, the NSC holds a meeting over the death of the ex-Koga chief, naming Tokisada as their primary suspect. A new recruit named Shinone joins the organization and is tasked with following Tokisada's every move. Back in school, the teacher announces an upcoming test on ninja tools, and Kire explains that the test is actually about using ninja tools to steal the test answers. They form a group and two other students ask to join in, saying they were inspired by how Itoki stood up to the Koga guys. Later, they carry out their operation, and while one team distracts the teacher, Itoki and Ryoko are able to steal the test answers. At the same time, Tokisada infiltrates a Koga site while being tailed by Shione, but when he gets the information he needs, he sets her up to be captured while he escapes instead. On the day of the test, Itoki and the others discover the questions are completely different and end up failing, while Suzaku reveals that they had switched out the test answers with fake ones. Later, Tokisada reports to Yumika that the Koga's target is Iga's secret ninja core. But when Raiha says the secret core is just a rumor, Umika assures them that it's real. Back at school, Kosetsu warns Itoki that they have a traitor among them, since Suzaku shouldn't have known which safe they'd open. Next class, the teacher announces an end-of-term exam that's going to be dangerous, and Suzaku promises to take Itoki out once and for all. Itoki tells the rest of the group that he won't be participating with them this time, in hopes of finishing the traitor out. He and Kosetsu come up with a plan, which Kosetsu throws in the trash, but when they leave, someone comes and picks it up. On the day of the exam, the Koga boys head to the wrong location to find them, while Itoki and Kosetsu figure out who the traitor is. Itoki uses a disguise to try and trick Himura into coming down so he can steal his ninja code. But it turns out that Suzaku had pulled the same trick. Kosetsu gets ambushed and taken out, while Suzaku starts to deal Itoki some serious damage. Itoki holds out as long as he can, warning Suzaku that the cycle of revenge would get them nowhere. Then he collapses, but Suzaku can't bring himself to take his life. Later, Kirei meets up with Suzaku, who tells her he still has plenty for her to do. It turns out that Kirei is the successor of the Fuma village, who are freelance ninjas that often lie and deceive to carry out missions. Kirei and Ryoko end up moving to Itoki's village for summer break, making it easier for Kirei to send intel to Suzaku. Meanwhile, Suzaku tells his father he wants to be on the front lines of the attack on Iga, but his father thinks he's in over his head, which angers him. At the same time, Yumika takes Itoki to the hospital, where Raiha stays by her husband's bed, saying he's been in a coma for 5 years. After Yumika and Itoki visit his father's grave, and Yumika explains that in the shinobi world, sometimes you have to bear sins that will never be erased, as she reveals that she was the one who sent Raiha's husband on his last mission. The next day, Yumika tells Itoki about the secret ninja corps, then shows him the registry of Iga ninjas that would make him an official Iga ninja. After the village gets word of Ninja Grand Council meeting, so all the chiefs of the different villages gather round for a meeting supervised by Hayato. There he asks if any clan has experienced oppression from the Koga clan, and one by one all the other chiefs admit that Koga has been making their lives miserable, causing Hayato to place him under arrest. However, another agent storms in with suspicious evidence that Tokisada assassinated Koga's last chief, so they hold Yumika responsible and arrest her too. Back at the NSC, Hayato tells his team to act according to their own sense of justice from now. He then goes off to examine the evidence, but sees something's not quite right. Just then, Genji sneaks up and stabs him, taking him out of the picture. At the Iga village, Itoki calls all the villagers and announces he'd be the acting chief till his mother gets out. Then he stamps his print in the registry and becomes an official Iga ninja. 3 days later, Genji announces himself as the head of NSC, releases Kido from prison on account of insufficient evidence, and orders Yumika's execution. When Shione tries to object, he appoints her head of First Division, but she knows it's no honor, so she tells her team it's time they start acting on their own. After, Genji and Kido visit Yumika, asking her to give up the ninja corps in exchange for her life, but she still refuses. Meanwhile, word travels to the Iga village and the villagers panic about what to do. Tokisada tells Itoki to expel him so he can act freely and free Yumika, but Itoki hesitates. Suddenly, Kosetsu holds a knife to him, insisting he expel her instead, since Yumika is the only family she has and she has to save her. Itoki tells everyone to calm the f*** down and says no one's getting expelled, but he orders Kosetsu and Tokisada to rescue his mom. Meanwhile, Kirei eavesdrops and relays the info, so Suzaku interrupts a meeting with his dad and Kido to tell them about the plan to free Yumika. When Kido thanks him, he asks to be allowed to join the front lines of the assault on Iga, to his father's dismay. Later, the Koga Council meets and Hosen stands up against the plan, so Kido shoots him and says Koga doesn't need cowards. Later, a citywide announcement goes out about a gas leakage, while the Iga village loses signal to the outside and figures the Koga village is making their move. Meanwhile, Kosetsu and Tokisada manage to break Yumika out of jail, but are summoned by tipped-off NSC agents. Amidst all the chaos, Shione leads a team to apprehend some men trying to destroy the ex-Koga chief's body. Meanwhile, the Koga ninja get past the front gate, but the Iga ninjas put up an impressive resistance. However, they discover they're actually up against ninja robots made by the Saiga village. Ryoko examines one and says they probably need a base for recharging. Itoki and Ryoko offer to take it out, while Kirei asks to sit this one out, apologizing deeply. Back at the NSC, Genji is the last man standing when Shione and her team arrive, revealing that the men pointed to him as their leader, so she places him under arrest. Itoki and Ryoko try to take out the base, but are stopped by Himura and an army of robots. However, one of the robots seem to default and plant the bomb anyway, blowing the base up. Itoki and Ryoko survive and discover the robot was actually Kirei in disguise, and they all escape together. Meanwhile, Yukimura and Kosetsu return to the village, but Kosetsu suddenly hears a ringing in her head and pulls a knife on Yukimura, demanding for the core or else. Turns out that somehow Genji is able to control Kosetsu from his prison cell, though she tries to resist. Yukimura refuses to give it up and assures Kosetsu that regardless of what happens, she'll always be her daughter. Moments later, Itoki rushes in to find his mom on the floor, stabbed, while Kosetsu stands crying beside her. All over the other villages, chaos breaks out and the robot ninjas attack, while in Iga, Raiha tells Itoka that he has to formally become chief. Meanwhile, Suzaku hears about his family's death and gets warned that Kido has lost control, and he should be careful. Itoka officially becomes chief and the villagers immediately bombard him with questions on the new plan, but Itoka tells them to kindly wait till he buries his mom. After Ryoko says she has to go see her dad in the hospital, and Kirei says she better be heading back too, but they agree to stay for the funeral. At the same time, Shione meets with Tokisada and shows him a report on Genji's connection to Koga, which contains something about Kosetsu. After Tokisada takes Itoka to see Kosetsu, and there he reveals that Genji was planting microchips in children he had mistresses with and sending them to other villages as unwitting spies. One of his other daughters was Satomi, which means Genji is Kosetsu's real father. Kosetsu still feels like dying, but Itoki encourages her to live on for Yumika. Meanwhile, Kirei returns home to her father, but they get ambushed by Koga ninjas. So her father tosses her outside while he takes out all the ninjas along with himself. Ryoko visits her dad and discovers he's lost his hand and their shop has been shut down, causing her to cry. Back in Iga, Itoki pays his respects when Suzaku shows up to do the same. But after calling Itoki a coward, Itoki tackles him and asks what he's even fighting for. Suzaku starts to waver and walks off angrily. But when he gets home, he discovers a hidden file showing that Kido was the one who took the ex-chief, his brother's life. The next day, Itoka tells the villagers he plans to hand over the secret ninja corps in exchange for their autonomy, and though they try to object, he threatens to expel anyone who objects. However, the Koga don't intend to accept, and plan to steal the corps regardless. Meanwhile, Kirei goes to see Ryoko and confesses how she's been a double agent the whole time. But Ryoko forgives her, and they both mourn their losses. At the same time, Suzaku informs Kido about the incriminating file, claiming to remain loyal to him regardless. So Kido deploys ninjas to retrieve the file, but the men are unable to find him. After, he takes them all down, and learns about the second attack on Iga. At Iga, Kirei finds Tokisada and confesses her crimes, but he says he already knew and assures her he's not the traitor he's looking for. Meanwhile, the villagers gather for a coup against Itoki, but someone slips away to check secret information, and it turns out to be Raiha, who wanted vengeance for her husband. After, the villagers discover that Itoki has left to confront Kido with the secret corps, while Kosetsu and Tokisada accompany him. The three of them arrive at Koga headquarters and are immediately swarmed by ninjas, so they start taking them out when Kirei and Ryoka arrive. Kirei finally tells Itoki the truth, but he forgives her. So they leave the rest to the girls and head upstairs. On the next floor, they're surrounded by an army of ninja bots, so Itoka uses the secret core to blast through them instantly, but it takes a toll on him. Next, they run into Himura and some other men. But Suzaku shows up to hold them off, giving them an opening to head for Kido. When they reach his office, Itoki manages to bait Kido into confessing to all his crimes while he transmits the whole thing to Shione. Shione deploys the NSC to assist and rescue the injured. However, when Itoki turns to leave, Kido attacks with his own secret ninja corps. The two go through an intense battle, but in the end, Itoki overpowers him and wins. Kido claims he's lucky because he didn't have to grow up with as much pain as he did just because of the shinobi way. But Itoki tells him that's bullshit, since life's not fair to anyone. When Itoki turns to leave yet again, Kido tries to attack but gets stabbed by Tokisada, who tells him he did this on his own and says goodbye. Shione sadly declares Tokisada a fugitive, while the injured receive help. Itoki and Kosetsu walk away, finally free. Who's your favorite shinobi? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video.